NASCAR got busy today, bunch of penalties after Martinsville. Let's talk about it. Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Jet. Welcome back to an episode of Inside the Line. We're having a wonderful Tuesday night. Yes, penalties. NASCAR got busy with handing out penalties following this weekend's events at Martinsville Speedway because penalties across all three divisions of NASCAR series. Let's go over first with trucks. The only penalty is Ty Majeski, who has been fined $12,500 for missing championship for Media Day. That's because he was out voting because tonight is election night. All I'm going to say is, hope you voted. That's all I'm going to say. For the Xfinity Series, though, Chandler Smith was fined $10,000 for throwing a punch at Cole Custer following that race when Chandler Smith was mad at how the 00 car was racing him. Alright, that's enough for trucks and Xfinity. Let's talk about Cup. Now, in yesterday's video, we went over all the radio communications from the 16, the 1, the 3, and the 23. And I left with the conclusion that, okay, the 1 and the 3 will definitely have some form of penalty. On the fence about the 23. Not sure. You could make a case for the 23. Wasn't sure. NASCAR did tear down the 23's car after the race to make sure if there was any mechanical issues or mechanical problems. And I guess they didn't see it. They thought that Bubba Wallace or the 23 team did collaborate to help the 20 team because NASCAR handed out penalties for the 1, the 3, and the 23, and this is what it stands for. At the moment, the crew chief, the spotter, and the competition director from all three teams have been suspended for one race. On top of that, drivers have been fined $100,000 each, and each have been docked 50 driver and I'm assuming also owner points. Now, all three teams have since appealed the penalties. So, at the moment, all three teams will get their crew chief, spotters, and competition directors back for Phoenix. As to what will happen in the appeal process, we don't know, but it will have an effect on the 2025 season in Daytona. So, okay, my thoughts on this. Honestly, not harsh enough. Not harsh enough. If you're gonna have the playoffs, a system where, in my eyes, race manipulation, it gets ramped up because with this 3-race, break, having 3 races, then you reset, 3 races, a reset, almost every single round is gonna come down to 1 or 2 points. So of course, in my eyes, this form of race manipulation or team/manufacturer collaboration is just going to ramp up even more than what it did in years past. Because of that, in my eyes, this penalty is not harsh enough. Now, it is consistent. If you look back at 2022 at the Charlotte Roval, team was fined $100,000, docked 50 driver points and owner points, and Chase Briscoe didn't get any penalties. Same thing happened here, where all the other teams got penalized, but the drivers that actually benefited from it didn't. Now, this is different from how 2013 at Richmond, where Martin Truex Jr., who didn't do anything wrong, also got docked 50 driver points. Me personally, though, I feel like if you're gonna try, if you want to stop this, if you want to stop this form of race manipulation from happening, I'm sorry, but the penalties have to be much harsher. Really? 1 race suspension? That's it? I understand suspension. I get that. Maybe suspending them for indefinitely, like what NASCAR did to Ty Norris at Richmond in 2013. Okay, I understand that. Maybe that's a bit excessive, but 1 race, $100,000. 50 driver points, especially when it's teams that are already out of it. Like I understand, things can happen with the owner points, owner money. You want to get higher up in the standings. I get that, but that is not harsh by any means. In my eyes, that is a slap on the wrist. If NASCAR wants to stop, the penalties have to be harsher. Now, Ellen Sawyer did say that they discussed possibly suspending drivers in the future, but again, I just don't see how that's going to stop things. I mean, yes, you could make the argument that, okay, if suspension could happen, then maybe the drivers that are actually committing these actions, like with the 1, the 3, and so on, I understand that, okay, if you're the driver, you don't want to get suspended. You don't want to see someone else drive your car. I'm not doing it. I get that to an extent, but that should have been done right away then, not in the future. Because this is now twice this has happened in 2 years. Who's to say that NASCAR's not going to let them off the hook this time around for the next event? Because this will happen again. If this is how consistent NASCAR is going to be with their ruling, with 50 points, 100K, 1 race suspension, yeah, it's going to happen again. I'm sorry. I don't see how this penalty is going to stop race manipulations from happening down the line. Now, one thing that I was surprised was Chevrolet didn't get any penalties. The reason why I say that is because the fact that the 1 and the 3 both helped the 24. That's 3 different Chevy teams. On top of that, you then consider what we played yesterday with Shane Van Gisbergen, where he had a message that says, hey, this is the message from Chevrolet, hit the 12 car. That's 4 teams of Chevrolet getting their hands dirty, at the very least with the 16. Nothing's been confirmed with the 1 and the 3 card that, hey, it wasn't Chevrolet didn't tell them, but for the 3 to say to one Chevy team to then help another Chevy team, I'm sorry, but it's almost as if it's screaming at our faces that you're telling me that 3 or 4 Chevy teams all try to help each other to prevent non-Chevy teams from advancing or to help their Chevy teams from advancing, and you're telling me Chevrolet themselves had nothing to do with it. I personally find that very hard to believe. Again, now I understand this is where kind of politics come into play. Yeah, I do feel like maybe Chevrolet got away with it, but at the same time, you want to help the OEMs. You want to be nice to the OEMs. And one thing, though, that I did find very interesting was Christopher Bell when he posted this Twitter picture and he said, just a couple guys missing a bow tie. To me, okay, I reacted to this. I thought it was very funny, but it does fuel that conspiracy theory that Chevrolet is in cahoots with NASCAR, even though there have been evidence in the past of NASCAR being nice to other Toyota teams. I mean, you look at Martinsville 2020 when, again, clear team orders between the 11 and the 20. NASCAR didn't do anything there. You also then look at Chevrolet and the Hood Lovers at Phoenix, I think last year, and how they were pissed off that basically Hendrick got off the hook with it. So yeah, I understand, that little bit of the frustration there, but again, I don't think that, Chevrolet, if NASCAR is in cahoots with Chevrolet, NASCAR isn't going to be in cahoots with Toyota and with Ford. NASCAR wants to keep the OEMs happy. So while I'm disappointed, I'm kind of not surprised that Chevrolet didn't get some form of penalty. Now, according to Matt Weaver, NASCAR has scheduled a meeting with OEMs this week to discuss with them this infraction, penalty, and expectations moving forward, and will also discuss it with drivers this week during a pre-scheduled competition meeting between the two parties. So what I'm hoping is that this is like the final straw that, okay, we're going to be consistent with the ruling that we did last time with Cole Custer at Charlotte in 22, but from this point onwards, this is what's going to happen if y'all try and do this again. And I hope that's the case, because NASCAR, you have to be harsh. If you're going to have this playoff format, which, let's be honest, when you have this 3-race stretch, 3-race, bunch it back together, 3-race, bunch it back together, we've seen almost every round in years past, since we've had this playoff format be in place for almost a decade now, almost every single time it's gone down to 1 or 2 points, 1, 2, 3 points. It's always gone down to in every round. So in my eyes, from this case, manufacturing manipulation is going to be even more present this time around than what it was during the original Chase era or even during the Winston Cup era. If you're going to have this format in place where manufacturer manipulation or manipulation in some way, shape, or form is going to be more rampant, you need to have penalties to help balance that. It's kind of like what I said in my review on Sunday. If you're in a world that is so chaotic like racing, you need to have something that counters that keeps it balanced. Okay, this playoff format is going to keep up with this manipulation, fine then, but make sure you have a penalty that can balance it out to make sure that, okay, it's as harsh enough that we don't even want to try to attempt to make this move. So I hope that's what NASCAR talks to the teams about during this meeting, the teams, OEMs, and the drivers this meeting, because with how they lay it out, if that is the punishment, the crew chief, spotter, a competition executive, especially now with a win and you're in, that's all you got to do is win a race and you're in the playoffs. Yeah, a 1-week suspension is not enough. That is nothing. 100K, okay, that may affect some drivers, but I feel like they'll be fine. 50 points, again, they're not in the playoffs. Neither of them are in the playoffs. So again, I don't think it's going to affect them that much. Maybe a little bit in terms of where they position. They may drop 1 or 2 points because of that owner purse, depending on where they are in the standings. But in my eyes, this punishment, like I said, is a slap on the wrist. And if NASCAR wants to be serious about this, if they want to be very serious, that says, hey, we don't want you doing this kind of crap, you got to bring a harsher penalty to ensure that the teams, drivers, and OEMs don't even plan on considering doing a move like what we saw at Martinsville.
You can't tell me now about time. Do you know how many lines I done put down, vibes I done sent down? But we in here, you dig. I love the market till they come red carpet the kids. Success still the target, soon I'll be crossing that bridge. But can't bring everybody with me, family only. I got some people think I owe a favor, barely know me. That's why my focus on the road, it's all I know. I see them sticking close to play the